Realtors, welcome to another episode of Path to Mastery, and today we are bringing you a special treat. This is a interview or a show we did recently. We did our first meetup, and the Martiroso brothers just absolutely destroyed it for us. Can you say destroy? I mean, wherever you are right now, just say destroy, okay? That's what they did. They destroyed it for us. It was amazing. It was fun. The only thing that could have gone better is we did have a tech issue or a challenge with Eventbrite. My fault. The settings were wrong, and it stopped letting people in after the show started. So everybody was able to listen to the replay. But other than that, I could not have asked for a better first meetup. Super excited for our second meetup, which is going to be September 10th. So don't forget to get registered for the second meetup on davidsmeetup.com. Again, davidsmeetup.com. Get yourself registered for that. Put it in your calendar. And hey, listen, enjoy these guys. These guys are awesome. This was fun. A lot of good content, a lot of good information, and we had fun. And I hope to see you on the next one. And enjoy.
All right, let me get recording, and we are actually recording. So, hey, I want to first thank you guys for joining our first ever virtual meetup. So the goal here, honestly, is just to bring value, right? We really want to get a bunch of high-level salespeople together and bring you as much value as we can. That's the purpose here, and just doing this monthly. So this is going to be our first one. And, today we are honored to have David and Art Martiroso as our special guests. We also have some other rock stars that are on the call right now that we're going to, acknowledge. And I'd like to hear from some of those guys as well. We got a lot more people popping on. I had about 35 register on Zoom, and I think we had about 20 or so register on Facebook, and then another 15 or 20 that emailed me that said they would be on. So we should have a pretty good turnout, but the most important person on this thing right now is who? Anybody want to take a guess?
Me.
You, yes. It's absolutely you, Barbara. It is. It's you. It's not me. It's not Dave. It's not Art. It's you, whoever you are. This is for you. So I want you at the end of this to say, you know what? That was a really good, solid investment of my time. And that's the intention here, to make sure that happens for you. So the first thing I want to do is I want to acknowledge a few people that are out there. Before I do that, I want at the end too, feedback. So we'd love to get your feedback on what you think, what you thought, what we could do better next time. And also, because we're going to keep this going. We're going to go once a month. The next one, by the way, if you want to write this down now, is going to be September 10th. So we're going to keep these things going. All right. I want to acknowledge, Jim Gray first, because Jim. And here's what I like about Jim, and we're recording this. Jim and I are working on an event together, and I'm releasing a product. And Jim's been doing this for a long time, and I go to Jim and I'm like, here's what I want to release, and Jim's like, well, why do you want to do that? And I'm like, well, because I want agents to get better at sales. And he's like, well, why do you want to do that? And I'm like, because I want to help them be more successful. Okay, and how are you going to do that? And I'm like, well, I'm going to do it with accountability. And well, why are they going to join you? And then I'm like, well, so they can make more money. And why is that? And I'm just like, dude. But you know what it does is it challenges me. It challenges me to really, really make me think about why I'm doing what I'm doing and why that's so important. Does that make sense? Now you guys can all nod. I know it's virtual too, but everybody. So that's why I like having Jim around, because every time I get on a call with him, like he had me nervous this morning. He kept asking me, like, I don't know the answer. I'm like, I got to think hard. And I love that. That's what I want to challenge everybody on this call with today as well. I want to challenge you guys all to think, maybe outside of the things you normally think about. And I want you to look at things with a different perspective. We have two people on the call today that are absolute rock stars. They have been number one in their office multiple months in a row. They're in a productive Keller Williams office outside of Boston, and they're regularly the number one. I think you guys had the post this morning, right, guys? It was you guys were number one in all 3 categories for the month. Is that accurate? Dave, Art, one of you guys?
Yeah, it's pretty accurate. We've been number one in the office, and I think number 2 in the region for KW. So it was cool for teams last month.
That's awesome. Congratulations. So you guys know what you're doing. You know what you're talking about. In the midst of everything happening right now, with COVID, with inventory at an all-time low, you guys are absolutely crushing it. And that's why I was really excited to have you guys come on and share some of the things that you're doing. The other thing I want everybody to know, this is an open dialogue. So questions, we love questions. You can wait till after to ask questions. If you have a burning question as I'm dialoguing, going back and forth with these guys, feel free to jump in. So the format really is I want to go down probably, 20 minutes or so. I've got some questions already, kind of get their answers, and then I want to open it up to Q&A. Before I do that, though, I was acknowledging Jim. And Jim, what are you up to these days, man? Jim, I'm fortunate to be in a business partnership with Jim. And what are you up to these days, my friend?
Yeah, so for the network that I'm in, I spend most of the days, recruiting agents and having conversations about how to grow a business, right? From 12 units to 24, from 24 to 50, from 50 to 100. How to take a single practitioner with an assistant, try to get him to, a fully functioning team with buyer's agents. So in my case, it's just, calling agents, setting appointments, having a conversation, and then,
but you're also a coach, though. You do a lot of the coaching, and I think that's, something that brings a lot of value to people. So, what would you say, right now with everything happening right now with inventory so low, COVID, what's the advice that you're giving to most of your clients, Jim?
Yeah. So, the advice is right now is you have to work with the motivated. So you have to get very good on your scripts, right? To identify who can actually take action. That's the first thing. Second thing is it's likely you have to be having more of those conversations to net it down to people who can take action. I think the second thing is, in real estate, on the seller side, you have to watch your mindset. It's easy to allow yourself to adopt the mindset that, man, nothing's happening. The market's dead out. The truth of the matter is it's not. Hundreds of transactions occurred last month. Another hundreds will occur this month. The question is, I talk to my agents, are you prepared to get your fair share? Do what's required. And then again, on the real estate side, when it comes to sellers, sometimes you just got to go out there and make your own inventory, which means target an area, pick up the phone. There's lots of people that will sell. Nobody's given them a compelling reason. They believe what they see on the news or on CNN or on Fox News, and they're not sure what to do. They're waiting for a trained professional to confidently be able to give them a good narrative. And I don't know about you guys, but in my market in particular, sellers' houses are going up like that. So there's a lot of power right now for the salesperson who is just bullish. When
you say bullish, what do you mean? What does that look like? What do you mean by that?
So, being unconcerned with perfection, right? Trusting your gut, at the end of the day, taking massive action, even though perhaps, you can feel ill-equipped sometimes. Golly, Jim, what am I going to say to these folks when they pick up the phone? The answer is, how about this? Start with hello, right? And then just move right on. Have you thought about selling your house, right? So keeping it simple, taking massive action, and being vigilant about your mindset, right? Don't allow negative voices to, convince you that this market is dead, nobody's doing anything, I'm going to have to sit out and wait. I would say what's so beautiful about that is that truly is, I think, the most powerful advantage sales professionals have right now, especially in real estate. While most agents are kind on their hands and fretting. Agents who want to grab market share, they're just on the phone. And what's so beautiful about that is the connect rate is higher than I think we've ever seen it. Because guess what?
Yeah.
Everybody's home.
Good point. Yeah, great points. Well, thanks for sharing that, man. I appreciate it. Right now, you're right. I think there's a lot of opportunities for people that are willing to get out there and make the calls and make the connections and just, get uncomfortable a little bit sometimes, right? And be in those conversations. And that's what I'm doing on a regular basis. I know that's what Dave and Art are doing on a regular basis. So why don't we jump in with Dave and Art and welcome you guys. I already kind of gave you the intro. You guys are crushing it outside of Boston. Why don't we'll start off with which one of the brothers is better looking? I'm trying to, which one of you guys thinks you're better? All right, so you acknowledge yourself first. So Art, we'll start with you. Give us a little bio of yourself. How long you've been in real estate. Who are you? What do you do?
I'm the man. Nah, I'm just kidding. Shout outs to Jonathan. What's up? And hi, Barbara. How are you? Thanks for hopping on this call. We've been doing real estate since 2011. We've been, as my brother mentioned earlier, I heard him say we've been named top producers in our market center and in the region for KW. We've been with KW probably since 2013, and now we're really focusing on building the team and just growing and taking our business to the next level. We did about 70 sides in a 12-month period, and then we decided we wanted to go to like the next level of 150 plus. So we're bringing on agents, we're bringing on admins, we're really focusing on growing through other people and using that leverage. That's where we're at right now.
Awesome. Dave, what about you, man?
Man, this guy says everything. I don't even have to talk. He's my spokesperson. That's my media guy. Yeah, I think business is cool. We built the business on cold calling and for sale by owners and expireds because at the time that was the only option or the only way we thought of that would be beneficial for us to get business. And now we have a huge sphere business where I would call somebody, convince them to go list their house after an agent they didn't sell with. And then now we're selling them that house again. We're selling that house and they're calling us back to go buy the next house. So a lot of the initial for sale by owner and expired business turned into our sphere and they won't go to anybody else. Some of them, right? Some people you lose, but that's just business.
So by the way, for there's people watching on Facebook Live, and for the life of me, I can't figure out how to preview their comments. So if somebody could, if one of you guys see a comment from someone on Facebook Live or a question, let me know, please. And I want to give them the love as well. So all right. So that said, you guys, again, I saw this morning. It was posted on Facebook. You were the #1 producing team in your market center, listings volume, everything. Where are you getting all these listings right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. And speaking of Facebook comments, somebody just told me I had a nice haircut. So thanks, Albert. Yeah. That's an important comment right there. But I'll tell you, a listing appointment I went on, it was last night, the circle dialing call. Our ISA was calling, made an appointment, with circle dialing.
All right, hold on. Do we have a mic? Are you guys in the same office, you and Dave?
No.
We're getting some feedback, so I'm not sure where that's coming from. All right, sorry about that. You can continue, sir.
Oh, I think if my brother mutes himself, it might be better. Is that better?
It is better. Yeah, it went
way
away.
Better? All right, yeah. So last night we went on an appointment. It was, like we were saying, it was a circle dialing call. And we just listed a listing that was, I hear that echo too. So
what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mute everybody, and then you guys can unmute yourself if you have a question. Okay?
Perfect.
How does that sound? All right. All right. So now let me unmute Dave and unmute Art. Sorry about that, guys. So as we here we go. All right, you guys should be. Are you guys live now?
Good. I'm here.
All right. Awesome. There you go. All right.
Hi, Barbara. She's the best.
All right, so you were telling us about your listings. Where do you have your listings coming from?
Arthur, you want to finish telling your story?
Yeah, Dave, when you're not talking, mute yourself. I think the quality will be better.
Okay.
All right. Is that better, Dave Hill?
It's better right now, yeah.
I think that's what it was. I think when multiple people are unmuted, it's better. And I was just going to say the other listing we got from Sphere, it's been somebody who came through us from Sphere. But the interesting thing is a lot of our Sphere became Sphere from expired listings and for sale by owners. We've been calling for years. So this specific client was a FSBO. My brother called, got the appointment. We listed our house, never sold it. And then she referred a bunch of people to us over the years, and this was one of them. We actually sold this guy 2 houses, and then we're selling his second house right now. So Sphere and Circle Dialing, I think, would say most of the listing appointment. And then I'll mute myself and let my brother add to that.
All right.
Yeah, so we have so many stories like that. But essentially what happened was I called a house and I listed a house that didn't sell. And obviously it's marketing dollars, photography dollars, time, right? Waste of time if some people will look at it that way. But you just never know where business comes from. And like we've gotten so many deals from that one house that we didn't sell but listed, even though it was a waste of time, even though at the time it might have been a little bit overpriced. Just like so many opportunities came from that. And I think that you just never know what you're calling for. I have another story where I called a lady and it was the wrong phone number. I thought I was calling an expired, and she answered the phone. And we're actually friends. I'm friends with all these people. It's amazing. She answered the phone and she goes, "This isn't the house you're calling about, but I am from Massachusetts and I just moved to Florida and I just sold my house." And she said to me, out of all the people that called me and I said that to, you're actually the only one that kept talking to me after you realized it wasn't my house. Because I was like, oh, that's so cool. How do you like Florida? Ended up finding out that she was divorced. I would just like talk about life, And she was a super cool person. I was like, man, we ended up connecting on Facebook. And then about 6 or 8 months later, obviously on Facebook, she sees me all the time. We're friends. We comment on each other's stuff. And then she sent her sister, who is a doctor here locally, was buying a condo around 800. And then she called us to do the deal. And we did that deal. And that came from an expired that I thought was an expired. And when the number dialed, it was totally the wrong person, 190%, not who I thought it was. And, that lady's phone was blowing up with a bunch of
Let me ask you
realtors
this.
that were like,
are you guys calling expireds now? I know the numbers have been way down. Is that part of your business?
Yes,
Expireds right now? So,
yeah.
And what is daily? And what do those conversations sound like?
Right now there's a lot less expireds, right? It changes, depends on the time of the market we're in. There's obviously less expireds and more for sale by owners. The conversations are always the same. We do a lot more cold calls now as well, and it never changes. But obviously where sometimes it used to take me 5 hours to call expireds, and say now it'll be like 5 minutes, and then you're on to FSBOs. And then the rest of the time you're doing neighborhood calls. So maybe the amount changed, but the conversations don't change. The activity doesn't change. Obviously the less expired you get a chance to call, the less opportunity you get to close, the less you're going to put on the market. But hey, let's face it. We just closed 2 deals in a 3-story building where it was a cold call, neighborhood call for an open house that we had. And at the end of the call, we'll say, hey, we just want to this is the call. We want to let the neighbors know first that we're having an open house at this property. And we just wanted to see if you wanted to come by and take a look at it. And oh, by the way, if you want to know what your house is worth while we're out there, just let us know and we'll come by and look at it. And somebody said yes. I went in. we listed the house, sold it, listed the upstairs neighbor's house, and we lost the listing on the second floor, but they never sold. So you got to list with the best, baby.
All right, awesome. So, Dave, all right, we'll jump to you for a minute. So Dave mentioned expireds. There's not as many expireds. I do expireds. It's a big part of my business. Every morning, first thing I do, 9 a.m. I'm on the phones with them. And there's 5 or I think there were like 4 today, right? So the key is make the contact, go back to older ones, but then it's the FSBOs. I always transition to FSBOs. There's more FSBOs today, but they're selling. So the FSBOs are really cocky these days, right? So how are you dealing with these FSBOs that think they all think they can do it? And a lot of them are doing it themselves.
I think right now in this market, like you said, you have to adjust and pivot because, as my brother was saying, the reason why he's talking a lot about circle dialing is although we built our business on expired listings and for sale by owners, we started in 2009. There was like 40, 50, 60 a day. You could never burn through them. Like you couldn't call enough. And now, if you're expired, there's probably a reason why, because everything is selling. Inventory is at an all-time low. And then if you're FSBO, you're probably selling yourself. So it's tough. So what we do is we make those phone calls because you have to make the phone calls. You don't know what one piece of thing can lead to, right? Like somebody had a bad agent. They're just mad and they cancel the listing. And that could be an easy listing opportunity. But then you have to find other sources and other ways to make calls, which is circle dialing, as my brother mentioned. And if you've been into business longer than 5 years, you should be hitting up your sphere like every single day.
Yeah.
And just educating them on the market.
How do you guys circle dial? Like, what do you use for that? Is there a system or what?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we use Vulcan 7 to circle dial, and then Cold Realty Resource is what we use to get the neighborhood numbers. And we just target areas we really want to focus on that have a high price point right now, and that's how we get the circle dialing. Like I went on an appointment, with the story I was trying to tell earlier with that echo, I couldn't even think over myself. But that was a circle dialing call our ISA made in Revere. The house is worth $500. I'm sitting on the appointment with her, going over all the numbers, and she goes, "Hey, I have a friend that wants to sell, and we're asking everybody, can I get a discount if me and my friend list at the same time?" So I'm like, absolutely, we could talk about that. But that's 2 listing opportunities. And the story my brother told earlier was one listing we took in a 3-family condo. We ended up listing another one and then another one. So it's not about that individual client or that initial expired at FSBO. It's everything else that they can give you over time when you do a good job for them. And that's really the mentality you have to have when you're making these calls.
Yeah, amen. I was talking to I can't think of his name. I was on a podcast earlier today, and I was telling him about a listing I put on last week, and this was a listing that 2 years ago had expired, and I called the seller, and they're like, yeah, I already got 20 calls from agents. The house is rented. So I said, well, how long do you rent it for? And they said 2 years, and hung up on me. I set a reminder for literally 20 months out. I forgot the person even existed until I logged into Vulcan 7 like 3 months ago. And I called them and I said, hey, I know you guys rented a house a few years ago. It was for sale. Would you be open to selling it now? And she goes, I don't know. We may rent it again. We may sell it. And she's like, do you do rentals? And I said, I could probably help you with a rental, but I'm happy to look at it. And the house went on the market last week, a $600,000 house from a 2-year follow-up call from Vulcan. So that's what it's all about. There is actually a question here on somebody mentioned Zillow. Anybody do you guys use Zillow leads? Dave?
Yeah. So what we did as our business grew, we would we didn't spend most of our money. We're kind of like money hoarders. So we would put money away because what happens is, like Keller Williams, for instance, is where we work. But a lot of times we learned where you should be a prospecting-based company with marketing enhanced. So now we're trying to So now we're trying to do different things. Like we have Zillow, we had Realtor. We're trying to make sure we're not missing anything, but like we just canceled our Realtor.com, so we're always watching it. our biggest ROI still comes from our calling and our sphere of influence. It just brings in the most, but we do try everything. And I think like if you build it where you're calling people and you never pay for anything, if you ever do decide to pay for something, you're so much better at dealing with clients at that point and closing deals that because you had to earn them for so long, you know how to talk to people. Your closing ratio is probably higher than the average person because anything outside of a cold lead ends up being a warm lead, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing too with those leads, those Zillow leads or any of those leads that you buy, you have to have a really good system in place, and you have to have a strong follow-up system because the majority of it doesn't happen on the first call. And I think that's one of the challenges a lot of real estate agents have is they may call once and they don't get in touch with the person, and then they never call again, where sometimes you got to call that person 15 times. I actually got I don't know if anybody uses HomeLight. Are you guys familiar with HomeLight? I signed up for HomeLight and I got a HomeLight lead. I came through my phone. I was like, oh my God, I got a lead. I was so excited. I called and I got nothing. Like they didn't answer. And then I called again the next day. They didn't answer. And then like 2 days later, the guy's wife answered and she's like, yeah, he's tied up right now. And nothing. And I set him up on a drip and I've been texting him. And then ironically, like 2 days ago, I called and the guy answered the phone. I had a great conversation with the guy. He doesn't have an agent. They're legitimate buyers. But the reality is I just had to follow up that many times to finally get the guy on the phone and connect with him, you know, and I think most of us aren't willing to do that. So let me ask you this. We'll go back to Art. What are the objections you guys are dealing with right now? Like, what are the toughest objections you guys are dealing with?
I mean, I think it's more than an objection with the expireds and FSBOs. The challenge is there's just not enough of them. And the for sale by owners are selling themselves, right? So it's like, do you have a buyer for me? If not, I got like so many. They got legit people bringing them buyers, right? Because agents and buyers agents are just looking for anything they could find for their customers because inventory is at an all-time low. So I don't know if that's as much of an objection as it is an
condition,
obstacle.
right? I think it's both a condition. It could be, right? A condition and an objection. But yeah.
Yeah, it's
but
a
the
condition.
FSBOs. So talk about the FSBOs though, because you're right. The majority of them, do you think that they could make more money if they used a real estate agent? Like I spoke with somebody that said, hey, my friend's a real estate agent and she told me I could probably sell it myself. I'm like, what kind of real estate agent would tell you that? Like that doesn't, like, why are they in real estate, right?
Yeah, I think the challenge is when buyers and sellers work directly together, usually deals fall apart, lawsuits ensue, and things don't go the way they expected, right? So you want to try to get in there and show them, like, this is the line I like to use is like, everybody can sell a house this time. And what you're not realizing is that you're actually losing money because a great agent will net you a lot more money than you ever could on your own. But in a hot market, agents' flaws and weaknesses are disguised by the hot market. So just because your home sold and it sold quickly, that doesn't mean you got the most amount that you could have. It doesn't mean that you optimized the price. You didn't optimize the marketing. Did you put it on 1,000 websites? So it's like you may have sold, but you could have got 10 or 20 grand more. How do you know? You don't know. And that's why it's worth the conversation. And that's how we try to get in the door. But I think the key to back to my brother's point is add more sources, add circle dialing, you know, but FSBOs are great. And expires right now are just tough because, dude, why is your home expired? It shouldn't be expired. But listen, you have to call everybody because you never know. We could tell you story after story after story where one phone call led to like 6 or 7 transactions, right? And even some opportunities of where we bought the properties that they were selling. So you never know what it's going to lead to, just like the story you just said, Dave, where it was like a 2-year follow-up, right? Maybe the agent really did suck or was terrible or didn't do their job, and now they're just frustrated. So you could be that once you get in there and you get the job done, you're going to the top of that list for referrals and for that relationship. It's really all about the relationship.
Yeah, and something that I think either you alluded to earlier, or maybe it was Dave, was price. The reason that they expire is price usually. So you have to get really good at having those conversations around price. And I think that's critical too. So, you know, to the FSBO point, I set an appointment on Monday for today, and she emailed me yesterday. We accepted an offer. So I guess I didn't do a good enough job. First off, getting in the house fast enough, and then second off, explaining to her that before she accepts an offer, she should probably sit down with us so that we can get her, give her, get her in a situation where she can get multiple offers, right? I mean, and I think that's what a lot of FSBOs are missing these days is the fact that they may put their house on the market and one buyer shows up and makes them an offer. But if you list it with a realtor, all of a sudden now you have 60 real estate agents or buyer's agents or whatever showing up that all have buyers. Now you put your house in a situation where there's supply and demand. There's a lot of people interested. So it brings the demand way up, which equates to more money, which equates to multiple offer situations, which equates to what's happening. $400,000 houses are getting offers for $435 and $450, but that doesn't happen if you have one buyer, and FSBOs aren't aware of that.
Yeah, we have a Facebook question.
Awesome. What do you got?
Brandy asked, what is the conversion that the ISAs are having? So in our business, our ISA, Brandy, gets about 1 out of 100. That's an appointment. That doesn't mean they're qualified or we're actually going to go on it. But in this market, roughly 1 out of 100.
1 out of 100.
Yeah. And I think when people talk about conversion, a critical piece that they miss is who you're calling, right? Because if you're calling expireds, you may get 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 20, depending on what market you're calling in. But if you're just circle dialing, it's like you're calling a lot more people, but they may be less qualified. You're just looking for the right person. So it may take you 100 or 200 calls. And I remember one time, it was like at a boat class, my friend Jim Black, David knows Jim, he stood up and he said his conversion was like 1 out of 10. And I was looking at my numbers, it was like 1 out of 150. And then when you dig deeper into the conversation, he's calling sphere of influence. He's getting a referral every 10 people he talks to that he knows. Mm-hmm. And I'm circle dialing or calling cold leads or FSBOs. I may get 1 out of, each source is different. 1 out of 20, 1 out of 50, 1 out of 100. But to answer your question, our ISA, we track the numbers. We look at it weekly. It's about 1 out of 100.
Do you think it makes sense? Does it make sense to have, somebody asked me this earlier today, does it make sense to have an ISA in this market with inventory so low? Is it cost effective? Is it a good ROI?
Yeah, that's a great question. For us, it definitely does because we use our ISA for a lot of other resources. He's more like a virtual assistant, and then he's calling all day in between.
How much do you guys pay for an ISA?
Oh, we hire out of the state, so it's like dirt cheap. My brother pays cheap labor. He won't pay anybody more than like $1 an hour. Dave, why don't you tell him how much you pay people?
Say that again.
We use a third, like my
Outdesk,
like a third party company. Yeah.
Do you use what, like Upwork or something? Is that what it is, or Fiverr?
Yeah, it's like ends up being like $5 or $6 an hour.
All right. Well, hey, if they're effective, it's one thing. We tried that years ago and it wasn't effective because of the difference in the language barrier. So
I agree.
We can find someone.
Different one. Can I just add to that?
Yeah,
I think that a lot of my friends tried the ISA model and it didn't work. And I think the only reason it has worked for us is because we've actually been calling for 10 years. So what I found is I can teach it pretty easy, where other people just try to skip that whole foundation work and then they try to hire ISAs and train them. And I just believe, like, if you never played the game, how can you teach somebody how to play the game? You don't have like the understanding in the field. So for us, it's worked out so far. I might add more. But I think one thing for certain is we're always like, if everything fell apart, like, we don't do our own mailings either. But Arthur and I both did every step of the ladder of every piece of marketing that we could ever do. And if tomorrow you were like, hey, the world's coming to an end and you got to go back to doing the basics, I have no problem writing notes and making calls myself. So we stay sharp, and I think that's an important thing is, like, are you doing it just to get out, or are you doing it to be good at something? Because if you're doing it to be good at something, there's a certain level of professionalism that you owe your clients, which means you got to constantly work on yourself. And that work can't stop. If you stop, it'll show.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree. I think both is okay, because I know there's some people that are terrified to pick up the phones, and no matter what you do, they just won't. So if they can use an ISA and it's effective for them, then I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I like you have those sharp skills, but unfortunately not everybody does, Dave.
Masters, I'm going to get you right back to the show. Listen, if you're enjoying this, you got to get signed up for the next month's meetup, September 10th. Art and David are going to be my special co-hosts for this event. The person we're interviewing is put it this way, you do not want to miss this. This is going to be a New York Times best-selling author, and he is going to absolutely crush it for us. So make sure you get signed up right now. Go to davidsmeetup.com and get registered for next month. Again, davidsmeetup.com. Get registered for September 10th. And I would put that in your calendar right now. Go and put that in your calendar at 6 p.m. so you do not miss this meetup. So again, my friends, I hope you're enjoying it. And hey, go get yourself a free book. Go to davidsfreebook.com and get yourself the book Average Sucks. Great read. Average Sucks. My friends, again, hey, I just want to say I appreciate you listening to the show. And if without you listening, there is no show. And if you would be super kind, oh man, it would just help. It would mean the world if you went and you gave me some feedback on Apple or any of the other apps, preferably Apple. It does just helps us tremendously. So if you want to give me some feedback or a rating, I'm happy to read it on the air. Again, I appreciate you. Enjoy the rest of the meetup.
Let me ask: I see Sean Gorse here. Sean, I see your photo. I don't know if you're there or not. Is Sean there? Sean is
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, there he is, man. What's up, Sean? Closed like 680 homes. I don't know how many homes did you close in 2019, man?
Last year was about 642 on 171 million in volume.
171 million volume. 600.
This guy on.
Well, you need to get some good internet, my friend. If I were you, I'd call Charter or Spectrum as soon as we're done with this, and get yourself fixed up. Your brother, give him some help, man, with his internet.
It must be his computer. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're fine, dude. You sound great, man.
I gotta close.
Help him out, man. He's your older brother, man. Help him out. Help your brother out. But listen, I want to Sean. Oh,
I'll let you borrow some money for internet, buddy.
Yeah, he's probably got an old PC or something from 10 years ago.
It must be the computer, but I think we need to get him some questions. 600.
Yeah, well, that's why I was calling Sean. I'm like, Sean, let's hear. What do you want to ask these guys?
I got a question, Sean. Since you did 680 transactions, what are your top 3 or 4? Oh, my bad. What are your top 3 or 4 lead sources? So, what percentage of your business are they?
Yeah, and that was a fair amount of people, and I've been listening in because I'm picking up on a lot of what you guys are doing. For most of our agents, okay, that's coming from Sphere, and then internet leads, generally a referral source. I have found agents who consistently are calling expireds and FSBOs like you guys are talking about. Actually, there aren't a lot of people who are either willing to do that or willing to stick at it. Which is why I've always had respect, for David, because David's like, oh, how many expireds do I want to call this week? Like every other day I talk to him and he's like, oh yeah, I just got back from taking another listing. And so there's a lot of truth to, I think, what you guys are saying on this call. And, maybe that landscape changes. You either have, David, and you can check this, right? I mean, you got a really tight housing market. You're going to have less expireds or maybe less initial great fruit of expireds, but you're probably going to be dealing with more FSBOs. So I think we're all dealing with the same thing. The fundamentals of real estate don't change, but it's awesome to hear like this, like where you're talking about the story where like you do get the one listing, at least the 6 more. That's huge. People forget about that. That's absolutely amazing.
It sounds like you guys are both really, really good at the relationship and keeping that relationship and nurturing that, which is why it's leading to the additional business, which I think sometimes, we can lose. Forget about that, That said, do you have any questions for them, Sean? I know you're also a ninja like Jim at asking those deep questions, making people think.
I got another question for Sean.
I got a question too. I do have a question.
All right.
I do have a question.
How many agents on your team and how many admin?
So last year when we did that was our expansion network. At the time we were at a different brokerage. And that was balancing, depending on, with a larger team, you're going to have more people coming on and coming off, between 45 and 50 at any, given moment. And that was a, mixture of newbies and all that kind of stuff, veterans. So we had it all. And then, kind of my question back at you guys is, so you're mentioning you go on these appointments, like, is there anything else you're not mentioning that you think leads to your success in that area? You're making the calls and booking an appointment. Is it, is there much to your approach and what you're doing on an appointment? Are you sending any materials ahead of you going out there? Or if you don't get the listing right away, are you doing follow-up? Like, maybe if you could paint a picture for us a little bit, like what
my brother just gets the listings because he's so handsome. He walks in and he's so good looking, they just sign on.
I show up like a cowboy with 2 pistols, and I'm like, who's ready to sign somewhere?
All you got to do is shave your head and you look exactly the same, dude. So, that's it, brother. Shave your head. You're twins. That's it. You look like me. You get to look like me and Sean, too.
Sean, to answer your question, so we used to have like a pre-listing package and do a lot better with the systems, but now we're working on hiring an admin because systems is kind of our weakness, and our strength is people and being able to connect and build those relationships. So we actually shouted a good friend of us, a mega agent, Kyle, out of Rhode Island. He was selling about 500 plus homes a year when we went to shadow him. And we're going in, we're taking turns going on listing appointments with him, right? And he doesn't have a listing presentation, nothing. He's just going in and connecting with people, doing the spiel, educating them, and getting the listing. And I'm like, what the hell? We're doing like all these steps. And I'm not recommending this. I think if you're growing a team and you're successful, the only way to duplicate it is by having systems, having a pre-listing package, following up, and all those things. But sometimes we get so busy, especially in our business. Last year, the 70 houses we sold was pretty much just me and my brother. So now we're focusing on growth. But when you're busy, sometimes you just going on appointments, getting listed, going on appointments. And what we found is that our skill set is just really connecting and relating to the people. And we got better results when we didn't come with the canned listing presentation. Now, that's not duplicatable. So we're working on coming up with a presentation that we could teach agents to do so we could duplicate that process. But honestly, I'm just going in on an appointment and like sitting down, having coffee with the seller and connecting with them as deeply as I can. And then the next thing you know, they're giving us referrals to their friends upstairs, downstairs before we sell their house. So it's really focusing on that relationship.
Sean's a big time systems guy, so he might be struggling with that answer a little bit.
Sean,
I'm like you. I like, people ask me like, hey, can I get your listing presentation? I'm like, I don't have a listing presentation. Like,
Sean,
I just go and
and that's great.
Yeah.
Now, Jim Gray, how many houses did you sell in your first year of real estate?
57.
First year real estate. Tony DeSella used to tell me about this guy in Michigan, and he had a 30-second listing presentation, and it was, I sell more houses than anybody else in Michigan. Any questions before we get started on the paperwork?
It's funny that you say that, because when we shadowed Kyle, that was pretty much his listing presentation. It was like, dude, I'm the number one agent. I'm a Wall Street Journal top 10. I'm going to send to my photographer out Monday. See you later. And we're like, what am I doing pre-listing package for? But, once you have the production and productivity, I feel like if you walk in with a certain air of confidence, it helps you.
I'm wondering if that's going to change, though, in the future.
It will.
With all the tech and everything happening and all the disruption. People may be looking for more than that going forward.
I think if me, David, and David worked for Sean with his systems, it would be like 1,500 homes sold a day or something crazy like that.
Yeah, it'd be a lot.
Well, we did fold a lot of our systems into the new company, so that's
Sean's one of my business partners. I'm super excited to be in business with him. Let me ask you this. So what would you say, and then I'm going to open it up to everybody's questions, but how do you guys stay motivated? Like, or I'd love to hear from both of you. Like, what do you do to stay motivated in the midst of everything happening right
now? So to stay motivated, man, I think it's a lifestyle thing. We've been to probably more seminars than most people I meet. We did the Tony Robbins Walk on Fire. We did this thing where we're like break an arrow with this part of our neck. And we like just do all kinds of stuff, all kinds of seminars. I probably read now after my brother was trying to get me to start reading after high school, and I'd be like, get away from me. But now that it sunk in, I probably read more books than most people that I know. I'm constantly like studying. I lost a ton of weight. I'm staying like in super great shape.
Congratulations, by the way, on that. That's amazing.
And I just think like the mental work can never end. It sucks, and I wish you could just do it and then never have to do it again. But it's like the mental battles every day. You got to read, you got to study every day, and you got to take full control of your mind. And it's way harder to do consistently than people make it sound. But I think we've just been good at it. And I know times now we don't have as many low times because, like you got a little cash in your pocket. Things are so good. You're not worried as much, like the bills are paid. So it's pretty much easy to say, hey, I'm still positive. But I remember on days when me and my brother weren't making money, and we never wanted to quit on the same day. So I'm grateful for him because like on days I'd walk in and I'd be like, I'm done. This is bullshit. And he'd walk in, he'd be like, we're not quitting today. And then some days he'd walk in and say, we're done. And I'd be like, we're not done. We got all these deals we're doing. And we never wanted to quit on the same day. Now I don't think we want to quit because things have turned around so far from where they used to be. But I just think surround yourself with good people that when you're down, they're going to lift you up. I think that's important.
Good stuff, man. All right. Same question. And then I'm going to open it up.
It's a lot of things. Reading positive material, watching positive tapes, following and surrounding yourself with positive people. All are key. Now that we're building a team, one of the big things we're always talking about is culture, team culture, and the people we bring into our organization, because we know that from past experience when we built a team and had it all crumble is one bad seed can spoil the whole bunch. So we're really focusing on just bringing positivity in every area of your life. But then also is like there's so many hacks that you could do, right? Like running, get into running or exercise. That's a great way to stay motivated. Meditation, taking time outs and often taking breaks. And, shadowing people and getting on masterminds like this, seeing people doing it at a higher level. Like we're going to sell 100 homes in a year. We think that's good. And then you got Sean selling 2 a day, like cupcakes. So you're like, okay, I got a lot of room to grow. Can't be getting burnt out now. So I think it's just getting around people who are doing it bigger, have a bigger vision, and just staying positive as much as you can. Hanging out with David Hill is my answer.
Well, thank you, man. I'm in the process right now. I'm hanging out with Joe Polish and those guys, man. It's insane, dude. Insane. I can tell you, I joined. I don't know if you're familiar with Genius Network, if you've heard of it, or I look into it. But those guys are up to big things. Like they hang out with like Elon Musk and people. Like their goal is I want to take a trip to Mars, and back. It's like the next level, and that that's the type of stuff that I'm like, man, I want to be in that. So, actually, speaking of that, I want to read something that I got from Joe's newsletter. I want to share this with everybody because it's amazing. But does anybody else have any questions from for David or Art? Any questions out there? And if somebody could also let me know on the Facebook. I don't see anything, but
I have a question.
Awesome.
So you guys, you tell me where, in your opinion now, when you're interacting with other agents, right, who aspire to be where you are, where do you see agents going wrong? What's the most common way you see agents go wrong, and what's the quickest way to fix it?
Dave, you want to start or you want me to start?
You can go.
What a good brother. All right, so this is what I think. This is what I tell agents when I coach them or train them or people ask me for advice. I think in the beginning, agents have a lot of time and not a lot of money. But what they do is they look for easy lead sources. They may look for Zillow, right? Like, how can I make money fast? And they spend all of their money and don't use their time effectively. I think as a new agent, you should follow the 80-20 principle. Spend 80% of your time lead generating and building the skill set that will make you successful. Learn to call people. Learn to talk to people. Learn to go on those appointments even if they're not pre-qualified, because you have to get good at talking to people. Once you get money and you start closing transactions, take that money and reinvest it in lead sources that were mentioned on this Zoom call. Whether it's Zoom, Realtor.com, etc., the top agents in our industry have 3 or 4 really good lead sources that bring in business all the time, right? Like David Hill is an expired and Fizbo ninja, right? And then I think Doug mentioned internet leads, so he's probably crushing internet leads. But there's other sources like open house leads. Figure out what you can work and work that. Start with 2 or 3. You don't have to start doing everything. But when you get money, reinvest it back into your business. That's what I would say.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Jim,
anybody can unmute yourself, by the way. I believe if you can't unmute yourself, just raise your hand and I'll unmute you if you want, okay? Sorry, Dave.
Yeah. Jim, what was that question again?
My question was just, where do you guys normally see agents who are trying to grow their business? Where do you see them go wrong? What's the most
mistakes?
The most common mistake. How would you recommend they fix it?
Yep. I hate to say this, but I don't think there's an easy way. I think the beautiful thing about this business is anybody you talk to and everywhere you walk into, everybody knows the business better than you. Everybody is smarter than you. Everybody knows how to sell and buy a house better than you. But I always say the proof is in the pudding. And when you put people out there in the field, the results just don't show that every time. I don't think there's an easy way, because for us, what I'm speaking from is when we didn't have a lot of money financially and we were doing this business, we couldn't even think clearly. And I'm sure we were like tripping on just most obvious business and not getting it just because our heads weren't in the right place. So I think number one is you got to learn to stay calm, and you really have to do the mental work. But then as far as business goes, you got to do the stuff that's really hard and the stuff that really sucks, like listening to scripts and studying how to talk and improving your negotiation skills and all the stuff that takes a long time, things that you train at, and then all of a sudden you're out there in the field and now you have to apply the negotiation tactic you just learned, and all of a sudden, under pressure, you completely buckle and you use nothing of what you just learned. Well, that means you didn't learn it good enough, right? So then you got to go back and try again and try again. And I think, at the end of the day, we just didn't give up. You'll get better. And if you go... It doesn't matter if somebody knows how to sell or not. If you knock on 1,000 doors, you'll probably sell 2. So can you knock on 1,000, as fast as anybody else? I guess there's that basic. But then you can't do that much work and not get better. So you just work hard, and then some of us get really lucky, right? You get a few guys that just walk in and they're like a golden goose. They just go right to the top. Yo, what the hell? I worked so hard for this. So I think don't get sold on one person that made it look easy. Most people's journeys are just slow and it's tough. But when it's good, it's good.
Your internet's a mess, dude. So it's going in and out. We got most of that, and that was really good stuff. So let me give you kind of we're going to start wrapping. We're going to get wrapping up soon. So a couple of things I want to. One is I want to read something to you from the only people that get this newsletter are people that are in Joe Polish's Genius Network, which I'm not even in it yet. I'm not yet at the place where I'm making $1 million a year net. So that's the goal, to get there in the next couple of years. But in order to be in that, but because I'm in the precursor to that, it's called Genius Experience. I get the newsletter, which is amazing. So I want to read you something from that. And then I want to open it up to any other questions. So you guys that are listening on Facebook and here, think about your questions now that you want to ask these guys, even if you want to ask Doug, Sean a question, or Jim or Dave or Art. And I want to give you an opportunity as well. There's a website, it's called 35daychallenge.com. Write that down, 35daychallenge.com. Okay. I'm creating
David, I think what you had shared with me, I think it's 35 calls.
I'm sorry. Yes. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you, Sean. Thank God Sean's on this call, right? 35callchallenge.com. Yes. Thank you, Sean. 35 call. So scratch that other one out and put 35callchallenge.com. And what that is going to be is I'm putting a group together that's going to get together for 7 days, an hour a day. And we're going to all it's going to be a total of just 35 solid connections over 7 days. And it's all going to lead to one piece of business, at least one piece of business. So I'm calling it the 35-7-1. All right. So in the purpose of this is accountability, creating a community, coaching, group support. I'm going to share scripts. I'm going to share everything with you guys. And you know how much I'm charging for this? Anybody want to guess? $35. $35. Okay. So that's why this is the 35 call challenge. So I want to put that out there. Everybody's welcome to take advantage of that. We'd love to get as many people as we can. It's going to be it starts a week from today. It starts on the 20th at 1 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to be together every day. And we're going to hit all the different things we talked about today. We're going to hit physicals. We're going to hit expires. We're going to hit stroke of process. We're going to do all that. And I'm going to have some guests come in as well and talk to us. So anyway, that's that, right? 35 call challenge. I want to read this to you. Okay. And then I want to open it up for final questions. I want to get some takeaways as well. I'd love to hear some of you guys, the biggest takeaways you got from today. And we'll wrap it up. And then you can give me some feedback via email. Let me know what I can do better next time. All right. So this is from Joe Polish's newsletter. Just bear with me. I found this really interesting. All right. So it says a final sobering thought about connecting. I was in a high-profile group in the early 2000s with billionaires, professional athletes, politicians, famous musicians, Academy Award-winning actors, and actresses. And through my recovery, I sat with people the world admires and follows. Many of them are extremely broken individuals with lots of pain. Their fame and their financial success, in a lot of ways, was because it's the only way they knew how to do, which was workaholism, in trying to soothe their pain at a great cost. And as I said above, workaholism is the respectable addiction. Most of the people you may want to meet, you think have knowledge or access, or may lend their credibility to you, I guarantee you out there is part of their life is hurt so bad. And this is not just for these famous people he's talking about. It's everybody. This is for everybody. If you can speak to that hurt, you will have such deep rapport with them. Right? This is about digging deep, my friends, and getting into that deep motivation with people and figuring out what we can do to help them to achieve their goals, to help them with the pain, the things we're dealing with. And then he wraps up by saying, this is not about manipulating people or taking advantage of them because you want something. The best thing I've known how to do is build rapport, is just to be useful, helpful, and grateful, and not want anything out of the relationship. I love that. I thought that was amazing. You know, that's what these guys are all about. Joe Polish, you have to apply to be in that group. And if they think you're a taker, you can't get in the group. Doesn't matter how much money you have. You know, so that's I think that's amazing. All right. Anyway, so that said, who has some questions for any of these guys? Do we have any questions? You can raise your hand. You can unmute yourself. The easiest way to do it. Any questions at all? No? Nobody? What about on Facebook? I'm struggling with my Facebook questions here.
We left him speechless, Dave. This is good.
You guys are animals. Okay, Barbara has a question. All right, let's see. Dave, you're not allowed to talk anymore. Sorry, bud.
I'm sorry about my internet. My laptop is still from 10 years ago because I'm so cheap, and I think it keeps me humble.
So stop paying those ISAs and buy a new laptop. All right, Barbara, what's your question?
Well, I wanted to know, I know we talked about internet leads and lead sources, but I'm finding the more time I spend on social media, I'm getting listings from people I haven't seen in 20 years. I mean, do you find y'all do a lot of social media? And that's what started me doing more, because I watch you guys all the time. But, do you find success with that? Not necessarily running ads or anything.
Yeah, definitely. I think posting on social media consistently and all the time, and not just being on it like 4 hours a day, but strategically will bring you more business. And it does all the time. And the way I started was I went to like a seminar, and we always like to start small. We take, social media is huge. We take a small idea and we implement it, and then we got really good at it. So what we would do is we started with like Facebook. We would do 5 likes a day, liking other people's, hopefully past clients, 5 comments a day, and then just like 1 post a day. So like 5, and then 1. And then you do that for a while, you start to build a habit. And then you could say, okay, now I'll do it on Instagram, or now I'll do it for 15 minutes a day. And I've gotten listing from friends that I went to Salem State with or to college with, and people reaching out to me on Instagram. And the best one is this, like I post about how much we post, Barbara. So people will reach out and be like, oh, dude, I didn't know you sell real estate, and you sell real estate in this area. And I'm like, and I think that we post a lot, and people still don't know because, social media is so huge and there's so much information out there. So that's where we realize, you can never post enough. You can never be out there enough, because when the person needs a service, if they don't see you or your message in that instant, they're going to go with somebody else. So, yeah, it's huge. I think everybody needs a consistent social media plan.
And you guys post a lot of what you're up to, too. So you're posting your listings, you're posting real estate. I don't see you posting a lot of self-service stuff like, hey, come list with us. It's more like, this is what we're up to, right? Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's very accurate. I think that, if you're looking to buy or sell a home right now, call me, is not as powerful as a post as like, look, I just helped this client buy or sell their dream home, and here's their story. Because then if you're like this client and you connect with their story, you're much more likely to send me a direct message as opposed to I'm saying like, hey, I'm the best. Call me, if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. And you're just trying to get a message, a DM, and then that's how the conversation goes to the next level.
Awesome. All right. Anything else? Any other questions out there? Or all right. So let's do this then in kind of wrapping up. I'm trying to think if I covered everything. I want to just one more time remind you of the 35 call challenge. You're welcome to join us on that, and I'd love to have you. We'll be doing another one of these on September 10th, so we'd love to get your feedback. If you want to email me, david@davidihill.com to get your feedback. Art, Dave, how do these guys get in touch with you? You guys also have a great podcast. Tell everybody how to get in touch with you guys.
I'm going to buy my brother a new computer.
Thank you. Yes. We'll get you back on, Dave, once you get your tech
Don't
figured
get
out.
in touch with me.
Dude, you sound like a broken
You
computer
can always
right now.
call
man.
me at 619-215-05. Sorry, everybody.
Hey, dude, listen. If you're gonna call clients like that, forget about it. You might as well just leave the business. All right. You got to get yourself set up. All right. How do we get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, you mentioned the podcast. We actually had David Hill on, which was an awesome episode. So just
Thank
Google the Modern American Dream Podcast.com. Check out the episode of David Hill. And
You
then
guys had Ivan Meisner on, right?
We had Ivan Meisner, the guy that founded BNI. A lot of different cool people, and sometimes it's just me and him, talking about business or the things that we learned from building our business. Social media is a great way. I mean, you can find me under my name, my brother under his name, or DNA Realty Group. Just type that in and it'll come up. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We're on Snapchat. We're everywhere the consumer is. Those are the best ways to get a hold of us,
Awesome. And we'll be sending this out. Anybody on Facebook? Final chances, Facebook peeps. Brandy Rogers, Davis, thanks for joining us, by the way. Facebook, killing it out there. Dan Gervais out there on Facebook. We love it. You guys, make sure next month we want you here. I may have you guys co-host for me next month, as long as Dave gets his computer fixed.
I'm going to buy him.
The three of us can co-host. How's that sound?
I'm going to buy him a new computer, dude.
All right, good.
He's doing this to team meetings for like 6 months. I'm like, dude, you got to buy a new computer. And he's like, that's like cutting expenses. The profit margins are through the roof, Dave.
Well, at some point, the lack of the computer and the clarity is going to start to affect your business. So you got to,
Yes.
you can only do that for so long, and then you have to step it up.
Robert's going to start a GoFundMe page for Dave's new computer.
Very good. All right, anybody want to give a couple takeaways? I'd love to get a couple takeaways. I'm going to call on Sean, and I know Sean would be willing to give us a takeaway. I don't know if Jim wants to give a takeaway. Anybody else willing? We'd love to get a couple things that from listening. You guys been here for an hour. I appreciate that. What would you say to people that just chimed in right now? What would you say was the biggest takeaway you took? Love to hear from 3 or 4 of you guys.
David, I'll reiterate what I posted on Facebook there on the feed, but time and again, I mean, just no shortcuts, right? I can tell Dave and Art, they're grinders. I mean, there's a whole book about this called Grit. And though if you're watching this and you're new to real estate and you think it's like HDTV and you can just make all the easy calls and you're gonna get clients, I mean, just like nothing could be further from the truth. I grew up in real estate, and so I can tell Dave and Art have lived that. And so you just got to stick at it and be willing to grunt it out long enough where you do get to the skill level, the mastery level. All the money is at mastery. I know, David, that's the name of your path to mastery, right?
Yeah, thank you. Podcast,
so you can, I mean, you're just bringing on 2 guys here that have lived that. So it's awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Love it. And by the way, I saw a couple of Facebook. Justin Boucher is out there. Justin has the podcast AGA Athlete for you triathlon folks that are interested in that. Check out Justin's podcast, the AGA Athlete. And then Brandy, of course. Hey, all right. Anybody else before we wrap? Any final thoughts? Love to hear from someone. Just say, hey, this is what I got from this. Anybody?
Stay consistent.
There he goes, Evan. I love it. Nice look, by the way. I like the beard, the shaved head. I don't know why I like that look. It appeals to me for some reason. So, all right, good stuff. Stay consistent. All right, my friends. Unless we have any finals, we're gonna wrap it up. And any finals? All right, we are good, my friends. And hey, you know what? The keys to today is like it was said, consistency, keep showing up, putting in the work, grit, just being there, and now's the time to do that. Just be in touch with people. The more it's a contact sport. You can't say enough more, about that. Is the more people you talk to, the more results you're going to get. So I want to support you in those results as well. So again, 35 call challenge. You can jump on that. We spend some time together. And I just want to thank you all. And we will see you September 10th. And I'm going to get these two rock stars to be my co-hosts on September 10th, as long as Dave gets a new computer. And we'll be good to go. All right, guys? Hey, thank you. You rock.
Hey, Masters, 45 seconds. That's all I ask. I appreciate you listening to the show. I don't know if I say that enough, but I know you can invest your time wherever you choose. So thank you for spending it here with us. Remember, if you want any information on me or my events coming up, just go to my website, which is davidihill.com. Again, davidihill.com. Click on the events tab. You've got webinars, you've got past webinar replays. Everything is there. You can also get access to our sponsors there if you click on the affiliates link. So again, everything is at davidihill.com. And we'd love to have you join us on our Facebook community, which just go to Facebook and search groups, which is Path to Mastery. And finally, as you know, you can get yourself a free book by going to davidsfreebook.com. My friends, again, I just want to say I appreciate you spending time with us. Oh my gosh, I forgot the review. If you would, it helps so much if you'd be willing to go give me a review and then email a review to me at david@davidihill.com. Email it to me. I'll read it on air for you. And I just want to say I appreciate you again for listening to the show. You rock. Enjoy the rest of your day.